I'm glad we're here together today. We're going to explore the heart and its importance with awakening. So, last week we talked about awakening at the level of mind, which is seeing ourselves, knowing ourselves as awareness. We're not what we thought we were. And at the level of mind, it's really a movement of not this, not this. You may have heard the term neti neti in the Eastern traditions. Not this, not this. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not these sensations. I'm not my body. I'm not my personality. I'm not my history. I'm not what other people want me to be or think I am. And and at the level of mind, we don't want to start inserting better identities, right? Which, um, some spiritual communities do that and teach that, which is fine. Have a better thought, take on a better identity, which can be helpful in healing, actually. And so works for kind of healing and integration at a certain level. But if we're dedicated to truth and really realizing what we are, our fundamental nature, and having that blossom and open at all levels and living that, we we want to get comfy with being a mystery, really, and not having any solid answers about what we are. More will be revealed. So not this, not this. I'm not any of these things. And it's that back and that giant step backward. Oh yeah, I'm aware of my thoughts. I'm aware of who I think I am. I'm aware of this body. I'm aware of my history. And all of that comes and goes, all of that changes. Body gets strong, body gets weak, body gets sick, body recovers, sensations change. Who we take ourselves to be seems to change if we're in a professional setting as opposed to being with our lover or something. And we can be aware of all of that. We're aware of our thoughts. And what is it that is consistently always fundamentally here? And that's awareness. And we start to see that awareness isn't something we have. Awareness is always here. And we are never apart from awareness. We're never not aware. There's even in deep sleep, or in sleep, there's some awareness going on. Mm. Deep sleep, some interesting things happen. But the point is that awareness simply is. And we can't have an experience or know ourselves on any level without this awareness, which is fundamental. And all of you have opened to yourselves as awareness, either in glimpses or full openings. But it can become quite dry. Oh, I am the awareness. I am the witness then of everything that arises, everything that is here. This body, these preferences, these relationships I'm having, these situations in my life. So knowing ourselves as the witness or awareness can be a bit dry without the heart, and it cannot be lived. Living this alive, awake awareness, we need the body to do that. So our hearts and our guts are really important for a full flowering of realization. So not this, not this, not this. And awareness wants to know itself, not just through the mind as clear, spacious, untouchable, infinite awareness, but through the heart as well. Awareness knows itself through the heart. If I'm not any of these things and I am awareness, that is what everything else is. And I am not separate from that. It's so fundamental. Non-separation. And it doesn't end there. There's this movement of welcoming in everything in our experience. We're not pushing away anything. There might be a feel of a movement of pushing away at identity at the level of mind. There can be a setting aside. Nope, I'm not that. What is here? That's fundamental. And as we drop into the heart, if we've had some sort of opening or glimpse or touched into our true nature, which again, everybody here has, then we can know ourselves as the space that welcomes, as the space that holds our fragile humanity, our wounding, our history, the energies that are left over from our history, all these identities and these versions of self that arise to sort of get through the day because the ego is a process that's helpful to help us move through the world and drive cars and go to the post office and have relationships. But there's a wider space here. There's something that's holding it all and welcoming it in and not denying. And that's really a movement of the heart. And we prime the heart for recognizing the non-dual nature of reality, of recognizing non-separation as what is fundamental through just welcoming in our experience. You know, just we're having a crappy day and we feel tight at the gut and we feel like irritation and we allow it to be here without trying to change it or figure it out or tell ourselves we're a problem or a situation's a problem. There might actually be something that does need attending, but the first step, the first movement is this is what is here. Ah, yes. Not this shouldn't be here, or well, I'm awake awareness, so none of this matters. Because remember, we can get very detached at the level of witness, mind. But that which is fundamental and infinite and ever present can welcome in what is here. There's so much space for what is here. And what is here always passes, always changes, transmutes and morphs and dissolves and arises again. So this sense of welcoming in just our mundane experience. And it'll begin to be seen. It'll be such a habit to not push away at our experience that we won't miss those moments where we're in nature and we look at a tree and we welcome it in I don't have to figure out what type of tree it is. I don't have to get anything from the tree. I don't have to do anything for the tree. I'm simply here, welcoming in the tree. Huh, there's something here that is same. Because we have practice in welcoming in our experience, welcoming in our humanity. So, because awakening is lived through the heart and the body, I find it's really important at the beginning of a meditation practice, whatever you do in the mornings or the evenings or whenever you meditate, to get grounded in your body. Because again, it's only through these bodies that we realize this. We get to go on this adventure of forgetting who we are and then remembering who and what we are. So, getting grounded in the body and softening and warming the heart. Don't even worry about opening the heart. Oh, I got to open my heart now. Just being with our heart just as it is. Oh, I feel wounded today. I feel anxious today. I'm filled with grief today. Oh, I'm happy today. I'm excited today. Whatever it might be, being the space in which the heart, the emotional heart, our very human heart, can simply be itself. Because this is what this journey is about, is really being naturally us as we are in all our humanity and all our divinity. So warming the heart, how can we do that? You know, I did a lot of metta practice, loving kindness practice. And I always started my insight practices with grounding in my body, warming the heart. I did have teachers and guides recommend it, but it also just felt it kind of made sense to me, right? Yeah, this is where I'm at. I'm here sitting on this cushion, sitting on this chair, welcoming in this physical experience, whether we feel good or not, right? And then acknowledging the heart, we could say. A lot of people like to do gratitude practice before they do like a concentration practice or a insight practice. And so that can be helpful. Although I just find in spiritual circles, we're sort of beaten over the head about be grateful. And people can start to feel this pressure. I have to be grateful. So if it flows naturally, yeah, right? You better be grateful or else you'll never wake up. I don't know. So just, flashing on, what brought you a little feeling of fullness in the day. I had a good cup of coffee this morning. I've got the Sedona Red Rocks behind me. I'm feeling pretty comfy. I'm happy to be with all of you. That's enough. Those are like at least three things. Had a good breakfast too. That was yummy. So just these little things, like, okay, so that we're not indulging our brains propensity for this for negative bias, right? Which is just it's a survival strategy that is wired into us to look for what's wrong so that we can survive. And if we're stressed out, then that's what we're doing. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the world's kind of stressful today. There's a lot going on. So we can feel into some gratitude. Um, I like the practice of bringing to mind someone who has looked at you with love and affection, kindness. It could be anybody. It could be a human who is living or deceased. It could be a teacher, a mentor, a family member, a friend, a pet. It can be a deity, a goddess, being gazed at with just loving eyes and receiving that in through the heart, letting that warm the heart and then filling with it. Doesn't have to be a visualization meditation if you aren't a visualizer, but taking it in from a being outside of you and then giving it to yourself, softening with your own fragile humanity, your own being. And of course, there are the Brahma Vihara practices where we cultivate appreciative joy and loving kindness and equanimity, compassion. They're helpful. They're preliminary practices in Buddhism, and I see why. You know, not necessarily to make you a better person because you're so terrible, um, but to help with the flowering of awakening. But it does have the nice side effect of probably making you a little more fun to be around. I practiced metta, sending loving kindness to those who had harmed me growing up, and it was very powerful every day. Not because I felt I had to, but because I love a good challenge. And after a couple of years of it, I was at a family function with some of these people, and as soon as I saw them, my heart just went, all this loving kindness poured out. Let's just have it. It's training. That's why it's called mind training, heart training. It's really just mind remembering, heart remembering. But with loving kindness practice, sending loving kindness, the wish for ease and happiness and peace to someone, we always want to start easy. Don't start with the hardest person in your life. My God. Start with someone easy, someone who's easy to love, maybe your neighbors, some nice people in your family and your inner circle, and then strangers. Yeah, and then maybe a difficult person. Yeah, not the most difficult person in your life, just someone who, I don't know, irritates the shit out of you. And then extending it to the whole world, giving it to yourself, which you can do first, and then everybody else, which I recommend. And in some practices, it's done where you connect with the being that's easy to love, and then spread it out to the whole world, and then finally give it to yourself. Up to you. I like to start with ourselves. But that's just a very brief kind of rundown of metta practice you can find. I think I have a metta practice on my website that's free to download, but Pema Chodron has a nice one too, called Maitri. But again, any kind of warming the heart, just receiving. Just be totally selfish. Receive some good mojo from somebody that has gazed at you with love and affection, non-judgmental attention. Take it in, give it to yourself. And then another way we can really warm the heart so that it can do what it does best. Um, if this is something that feels right for you, everybody's wired differently, but calling in guides and angels and beings, compassionate beings, calling in a team of spirit guides. Not everybody resonates with that. Some people, hardcore, fundamental, radical non-duality practitioners tend to dismiss that as just more mind-made BS. But it's pretty dualistic to be radical, hardcore, non-dual fundamentalist. So, that's pretty dualistic. So, again, as the heart flowers and opens to non-duality, everything is included. So heck, if some guide or Ganesha's showing up, all right, hello. I'm not going to push away. I'm not going to grasp onto you and create identity. I'm so special, Ganesha showing up. Oh, I have to do something or I have to get something from. No, if that's what guides just sort of showed up on my path, I didn't start asking for it. Some people call them in or say, "Hey, I'm open," you know. And that's why in a lot of these healing groups I say, let's call in our guides, angels, ancestors, those who awakened before us through the centuries. Because at the very least, there are scores of people who awakened to the nature of reality before us through the centuries that are all at our back, that have got us. We're part of that lineage of spiritual seekers and finders throughout time. So you're not doing this alone. Far from it. So this movement from not this, I'm not what comes and goes, I'm what remains, the spacious, essential presence. And the heart is, and this, and this, and this. As that essential essence, there's room. And this isn't linear. It's not like we have to wake up here first, then I'm going to get to work on the heart and non duality. Let's see what's going on here. It's all happening. The body comes online, the gut, the existential gripping starts to soften and loosen. Not this, and this. Which the and this is different once there's been a seeing or a sensing that what we are is prior to what arises and comes and goes. But it's the backward step into the seat of our being. Ah, I'm what is fundamental, and therefore there is room to welcome in. I don't have to be different. And this movement of the heart is part of meeting our conditioning, which always happens before and after an awakening. We wish it was a light switch moment, right? That awakening happened in one fell swoop. You've heard people say there are no stages. Well, I mean, these bodies and, this lived experience unfolds in time. And we have nervous systems and bodies that carry history and energy fields. So it takes time to acclimate, to adjust, to rewire really to what's been seen and realized. And so, even if we're not feeling particularly spacious and like awake awareness, we're caught in our stories and our contracted sense of self, and we notice pain and resistance arising. We allow it to be here, we acknowledge it. We act enlightened. And that allowance, that softening with what is here, is an act of awakeness. So every time you allow, every time you soften with how you are, because it's important to start there, huh? Maybe we can't always accept what's going on out there or allow. We can certainly make positive changes with what's going on out there if the first step is allowance and acknowledgement. This is what's happening. But the same with ourselves. Here I am in all my imperfections, in all my baggage, and my resistance and confusions. So as we train the heart in this way, or as we open to the heart's limitless capacities, it's just the heart doing what the heart does best. We're not only priming the ground for us to open to non-duality, non-separation, because we're not pushing away at anything. We're we're creating the, habits that can really integrate a big shift in consciousness. And the attitude and the I don't even want to say stance, but that place of allowing for our conditioning to arise, because that's gonna happen. Meeting our emotional material. So if we have trauma in our background, if we're neurodivergent, if we're super sensitive, these body mind energy systems have been carrying a lot. And as identity unravels, who we take ourselves to be dissolves, changes, there is an unraveling at the level of body, mind, and energy. And so conditioning will come up, old wounds, habits, patterns. And we want to be able to be as grounded and as open hearted as possible to meet it and not push away at it and deny it and go into spiritual bypassing. There are a lot of people out there on this awakening journey that deny the humanity, deny our bodies, deny emotions, and just sit back into the witness, so detached, so much safer. Awakening is meant to be really juicy and alive. There's an aliveness. Thanks for watching and listening. And if this has been helpful to you, please subscribe. Hit the bell to be notified about whenever I put out a new video. And let me know in the comments, how are you doing? All right, till next time, take care.